Hello and welcome to another video with Tieks Resort. Today I'm going to be showing how to apply powders or micas or flakes. So I've already experimented on this one to see which color I want to paint these shoes. And I'm going to go, before I finish these, I'm going to go back and paint them black so I'll have a good base. So they'll look like this instead of this with all the patches on it. But before I get started, I just wanted to show how I do apply the different powders, and you can see what the different types look like. So first of all, just get you a brush. This is the one I have. It's like 20 years old. And neutral. Make sure you do not set your neutral beside your white. And that would be why. That's a bad thing. Make sure it says neutral. You do not want to grab the white bottle and think it's neutral instead. So I know there's people that do this different than me. I am not an expert. I am not going to claim to be. I do paint shoes professionally, but there are lots of things that I'm still learning too. But this is just what works for me. So I just take my brush, and I'm not going to do the whole shoe right now, so I'm just going to show what I'm going to do. And I'm going to paint this little area right here. Normally, when I do micas or flakes, I paint half a shoe at a time, and I'll show you why when I get past this part, and I'm going to do my shoes in the color that I want. So I'm just going to paint a little area here. And I'm going to let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes. It's not going to be dry, it's just going to be tacky. And when I come back, you will see why I want it to be like that. Yeah, all right, I'm back. It's been longer than 10 minutes because I've been helping the children with things. So you can tell that it's mostly dry. You don't want it all the way dry, which is why we don't wait so long. But you can see where it's not, and you can see where it is, that shiny area. But it's not as shiny as it was when it was wet. So the different types of pigments. So this is just a pearl mica. You can get them off of Amazon, Etsy, eBay. You can get them anywhere. This one's a pearl one, so I'm going to use that one. This one is a shift mica or shift powder. I got this one, I don't remember, either off of eBay or Etsy. This one I got off of eBay quite a while ago. So this one is a light color shift. I don't think I've used it. And then I have a color shift or chameleon, whatever you want to call it, powder. And I have a chameleon or color shift or color changing flake. Now I'm going to show you what they all look like, since they all look a little different and you need to get the look that you're going for. So, as I said, I've put neutral on there, and I've let it set up so that it's between dry and wet. So you don't want it wet because then it sticks really bad. So this is what I do. It's nothing complicated. I'm just going to take my finger, and I'm just going to rub it on there. That's all. That's all I do. So this is a pearl mica, and that's what that would look like. Pretty purple. Alright, the next thing we'll do is I'll do this color shift. I don't know what it looks like because I haven't used it either. Looks like it has a little sparkle to it. Alright. I'm just going to reach my finger in. Ooh, look at that. That's so pretty. And I'm just going to rub it in there. You're just buffing it on with your finger. So once you have it on, it's not coming off. So that's a color shift powder. That one, as I said, either came off of Etsy or eBay. I don't remember which one. This one did come off of eBay. So this one is white. It looks white, so you can use it on a variety of different background colors. Most of the other ones, you really want to use it on black because the black is dark enough to make the colors show up the best. So there's one there. That's really pretty. It's like a light silvery color. This one's called Nukezilla, I think. It's really pretty. A little bit of green, and it's like a light minty blue, and it's really sparkly. All right. These, if you've bought micas at all, you know these little things are expensive. So treat with care. There's not very much there, and it was like 20 bucks. But this is why. Look at how pigmented that is. That's this area right there. Look at that color shift. Just rub it in. And I'm going to put the lid back on there before I knock it over and try. And then this one is it's a color shifting or chameleon flake. And this one's the one I think I'm going to use on my shoes because the color's really pretty. And with flakes, you can either dab it on, and it'll give you like a different kind of effect because you'll be able to see the little flecks of color in a different way, and it kind of gives a little sparkle. Or you can rub it in for more uniform color. Or you can do one layer like this and then dab the other one on top, and you'll have the best of both worlds there. There's that one. So those are the different types of powders that you can use. They're not complicated. I use my fingers. So what I do after this point is I wait, because I like to wait at least 8 hours between coats of paint. And I did put on some neutral. So I'm going to let this wait. And I'll probably come back tomorrow because I'm not going to make it back up here today. So next time I come, I'm going to put another layer of neutral on. And then put another coat of whichever powder mica I used. And then I'm going to wait again. And then if it's bright enough, if it's the color that I want, then I'm going to put some sealer over it. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to paint this black. So I'll give you a look at the different kinds before I change it. So that's Mica Flakes. That is a mica powder, or this is Chameleon Flakes. This is a mica pearl powder. This was the really, well, that wasn't the really sparkly. Oh, baby, hang on. That was this powder. Can I see that? That's this powder. And this one was that really sparkly powder. It doesn't have a lot of shift to it. And then there's this one right here. And you can tell which ones have the most shift. Usually the more you pay for it on chameleons, ends up being a little better. Not always, but sometimes. So this was the more expensive Chameleon powder. All right, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to paint these black, and then I'll be back, and I'm going to use this on my shoes and Clara's shoes so we can have matching teaks. So it'll be some match. All right, so hang on, and I'll be back in a second. No, it's the next day. So I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of neutral on half of the shoe, and then I'll show you how I put the Chameleon flakes on, which, you know, it works with flakes or pigments or micas or whatever you want to call them. Another thing is, if you don't know of a good place to start looking for if you want some chameleon colors, you can go and look on solarcolordust.com, and they have lots of awesome stuff, like all kinds of cool colors. So that's a good place to start. Or you can look on Etsy, or you can look on eBay and just search for chameleon colors, or search for pearl mica, or, you know, anything like that. If you need to know something else, just leave a comment. Before you start, make sure that your shoe is prepped. Make sure you have it on a shoe tree. Make sure that it's tight but not overly stretched. And put a coat of black on, solid black. And that again is to help the color shine better. You can use other color bases, but it kind of makes the shift not as noticeable as black. But if you want to bring out the color of a shift more, you can pick a base like this one. If I picked to put this on blue, it would show more of a blue and have a hint of that green color, instead of shifting a really bright green to a really bright blue. All right, so I have my neutral. Again, make sure you grab neutral and not white. And I'm going to do half at a time. If you're not comfortable doing half at a time, that's fine. You can do just a quarter. Just do whatever you're comfortable with. And I'm going to make a recommendation is don't use around the top here, because then you're going to get this chunky stuff that dries up around the rim, and you don't want that. It'll leave it on your paint job and you'll have clumps. Clumps are bad. So make sure you put your brush all the way down in there and wipe off the extra. Now these shoes are taped off. You can tape them off if you want. I normally don't, but I bought these from somebody and they were already taped, so I'm just gonna leave them on there. And they do still have a little bit of the glitter showing through. But if you've ever tried to take off glitter from shoes, it's horrible. Glitter does not want to come off. So instead of trying to take it all off and ruin the shoe, I just left it, because I'm probably going to put some glitter on top of mine anyway. Alright, so I got half. Make sure it's even, no streaks. And I'm going to wait. So while I wait on that one, I have already coated this one. This teeny tiny little teak. Tiny teaks are so cute. I've already coated this one with neutral, and I'm going to put some flakes on it. Before I do flakes or powder or glitter or whatever I'm mixing, I like to put it on top of a piece of paper. That way I can save whatever falls, because I do not like wasting anything. If you don't want your shift color to be so vibrant, you can always put it in a little cup, a little mixing cup. Yeah, it's dirty. Well, I have a couple, but I've used them. Put it in a little mixing cup and mix some with neutral. I don't really have a ratio. I do sometimes put micas in there to give it a pearl look, but just kind of mix it in, and where it's kind of like, I guess, half and half maybe, but don't make it where it's clumpy and dry, and put enough in there where you have color. So you don't need a lot of neutral, but make sure you mix enough so that you can cover the whole shoe, both shoes, because if not, they might not be even, and that is also a bad thing. So I'm going to take my powder, or my flakes, and I'm going to put my finger in it, and I'm just going to start rubbing it on there. Make sure you stretch out anything that is folded. And yeah, it's not going to cover totally, which is why I usually do two layers. And just rub it in there. As I said, there's no secret to it. I just rub it in. And since these are so small, I put neutral over the whole shoe because they're so small. And yes, I'm making these to match because as long as she will match me, I will let her match, because one of these days she will not want to. And right now she is 6. So I'm going to enjoy that. Look how pretty that is, though. Alright, so that's how I do it. Pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and when I come back, I'll have this shoe done, I'll have both pairs done, and I'll start putting on coat 2, and we'll get to the next step. Back for the second coat. So this is set for way over 24 hours because I did not work on it yesterday. And that is what they look like with one coat on there. But I always like to put 2 on. So I'm going to put coat number 2 on, and I'm going to speed through it since it is the exact same thing as what I did on the first coat. So grab your neutral, grab a paintbrush, grab your shoes. I usually do half at a time, then go back and do the other half. Let it set and get tacky. You really don't want to put it on there wet because it smears around. Just trust me, you don't want to put it on there wet. So let it kind of dry about 10 minutes or so, and then start rubbing the flakes on. I'm back, and I've got 2 coats of flakes on here on top of neutral, and kind of a weird thing happened with this one, and it does a little bit with some of them, but not usually like this, is when I put the neutral on, it actually changed the shift flakes to a different color. So now instead of like a darker blue, they're like a silvery green to a blue, which they're still pretty, but it's not what I was expecting. So I'm gonna leave them like that anyway because I think they're still pretty. And we still have matching shoes. So the last step you have is to apply your sealer. So what I use on shifts or mica as well, pretty much everything for me, is I use the high gloss sealer. Just because I like shiny things. It's not super shiny, it's not like a patent, but it does have a little bit of shine to it, and it helps keep that metallic shine look there. So if you haven't watched my sealer video, just get a little bit, and you want to try to get most of it off because it's really thin, and then just paint on the top of it. And if you can see, this one's changing it a little bit again. The sealer is changing it back to a little bit of green. Not like the neutral did, but it's still changing it a little bit. We'll see what we get when we finish. Don't put this on thick because it will run. If you do that, you'll end up with spots. So don't do that. Nice long strokes to help spread it out evenly. And you don't want it thick because you don't want drips down there like that. So I'm just going to take this and use that there. And just drag that to the other side. It really doesn't take a lot of this. And I do 2 coats of sealer on shifts, so it's going to get completely covered anyway. And also with the sealer, like the paint, I like to wait at a minimum of 8 hours. Usually it ends up being a lot longer than that because I've got other things going on, so it usually ends up at the minimum being the next day. And I have not had a shift change colors so much. They sometimes change colors a little bit or get a little bit darker when you put the neutral on or put a coat of sealer, but this one, it just really changed colors. Which, as I said, is fine because I don't have to prepare this color anyway. Make sure you get around the bottom. And after a couple minutes, go back and look at it again. Pop loose. And, oops, see, not good. Make sure you don't get anything stuck to it. And check around the bottom to make sure there's no drips. And if there is, just take your brush and wipe back over them, where you will see those drips when it dries. So I'm going to put 2 coats on, so that's coat number 1. So the second coat, I may do something different with these, I'm not real sure yet. The second coat I would come back tonight and put on, which it's noon now, or I would come back tomorrow and put it on. And then after that final coat of sealer, let it sit and let that sealer set up 12 hours or so. Give it a couple of days before you wear them. That way everything's cured good. And usually before I wear them, I like to seal them with a waterproof sealer. Also get that at Angelus, and I don't have any up here. But you just spray it on there, and in about 5 minutes it's done. So then you have a new pair of shoes. So I am going to cut off right now, and I will come back when I am putting this second coat on. So I finished my shoes. I have applied my second coat of sealer, and I've actually done a little bit more to my shoes than just add a second coat of sealer. So in my second coat, I put some sealer in a little mixing jar, and I added some micro glitter, and the micro glitter is like really fine, where it looks kind of like a glitter powder. Don't add anything bigger than that into your sealer if you add anything at all, because it won't. It may work, but I don't want to compromise the sealer. So that's in my second coat. On top of the sealer, I added some blue lines because I wanted it to look like kind of color shifting lizard scales. So since you always seal your work, on top of the blue lines, I added a matte sealer. So the scales have a high gloss on them, and between the scales have a matte sealer on them, which makes it look like it has more of a texture, and it makes it kind of look like actual scales from a reptile. So on the previous section, I said I always add a waterproofer, and I didn't have it up here, so I do now. So this is the waterproof spray that I get from Angelus. So while the shoes are still on their shoe form, I take them outside. Don't spray it near your house. I take it outside and I spray it. I give it a light spray, 1 or 2 coats of this. Give it like, I think it's like 15-20 minutes between your coats. And then wait. I usually wait a couple of days before I wear my shoes that I've already finished. That way everything has time to cure. So after you spray it, wait, and then you get to wear your works of art. So these are mine, and these are Clara's. I did not add the matte onto Clara's blue because she's not going to take care of hers near as well as I will. So she just got another coat of high gloss sealer on top of hers. Alright, so to recap, I base coat, I add a coat of neutral. Oh, I don't have neutral up here. I took my neutral. So add a coat of neutral, let it sit and get tacky, usually about 15 minutes or so. And then you can take your powder and you can rub it on, or you can pat it on, or you can pat flakes on, or you can rub some flakes. Not all flakes work like that. Let it sit, usually about 12 hours or longer is fine. Do it again so that you have a nice solid coat of color. Let it sit again, and then add your sealer. Let it set again. Add another coat of sealer. Let it set again, and then spray it with some waterproofer. It takes a while, but it's worth it in the end, as long as you wait and do it right. If you rush, it might not work. It might not last as long. So I like my stuff to last as long as possible. So another thing, the reason why I put a coat of neutral on and then put the pigment, flake, powder, whatever, on top of it is because I did try adding, like putting neutral in a little mixing container and adding pigment, micas. I didn't add flakes, but putting that in there and then stirring it up, and it didn't quite work as well. It didn't seem like it was as vibrant. And my whole reason for shifts is I like to see them. I like the bright colors of them. So I started using a coat of neutral and then adding on top of that. And that seemed to me to work the best. If you want to try the other way, that's fine too. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. That's just how I do mine. That's just what works for me. You have any questions that I haven't covered? I don't know of anything right offhand. But if you have any questions that I haven't covered, leave them in the comments. If you'd like to see a video on anything else, leave it in the comments and I'll see if I can make a video about it. But yeah, that's it. That's how you apply and seal, shift colors, micas, powders, and all that. So, good luck, and I hope you create something really pretty, and I hope you wear it with pride. Bye!